Here we go.
Cool.
Yeah, without further ado. Okay, well, hey, I you know what? Okay, let's imagine that there's other people watching this new, and this is Warrior Sage Dojo, and we come here together to link up and to really link up our forces and to sharpen our tool set so that we can stand proud and lead proud in the world, living it and creating it our way. And we have dove into this beautiful reality transurfing for a good long many weeks. I think we're on week number like 17, I think. And I don't know if it's really loud here, but the room over there is loud. Can you guys hear me, or is it really loud?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Super excited about this. And we also talk about dyads, and we also talk about the Arise Together activations, power, money, power, abundance, and relationship. And we haven't talked about that too much lately. Maybe some people are like even confused about what that is. And what it is a package that Satyen put together a time ago, and Satyen and Suzanne, and it's really a workshop that you can lay out to your friends. And as we do it here, you can go ahead and copy us. But basically, it's like a workshop in a box, and everything that you would need to unveil this beautiful program is there. You can plug and play, or as you get better at delivering, you can deliver some pieces, plug in some pieces, like leave the recording for some pieces. But anyways, it's at warriorsage.com. When I'm done here, I'm going to put the link in here. We put it in the notes, but I want you to have it again, fresh. But the idea is that you go in there, you download the Dojo kit, you check it out, see if you have questions, to check in with Cindy or I. Let's see if there's, if you need support, let's get this going. It's really fun. And just pick one that interests you, and pick a couple friends, and just do it. It's really, really great. They say it takes a whole day, but you know what? When you have a smaller group, it really is quite a lot. Like you can condense it, it's shorter, but don't be overwhelmed, dive in, have fun with it. But I want to know, has anybody done any dyads? I'm tired of hearing my voice, but I want to hear yours. Has anyone done any dyads this week with anyone's? And if nobody over there has, I think that this guy probably could speak. Who's done some dyads? Let me hear from you.
Tell us, Lauren, tell us.
No, Lauren, tell us, Lauren.
I've done some dyads. We do dyads every day, mostly every day, multiple times a day, sometimes.
And anyways, anything else about that?
No, they're good. It's good at connecting. It's good at bringing clarity. It's good at aligning with your partner.
In business, in everything. Okay, so there's my soapbox. And so let's see, what else do I want to know? Does anyone have anything that they really, really, really want to share before we dive in? And first of all, I want to know if Daniela, do you know that your camera's not on? We can't see your beautiful shining face. Are you going to show us your beautiful shining face today? Maybe not, maybe so. Oh, yes, later, thanks. Okay, perfect, awesome. Good to have you here. Just wanted to know that you're here. We're rooting for you. Okay, anyone have anything burning to share so I can hear your voices? No. Okay, well, I guess you guys are here to teach, so I can let you teach. Woo! Yeah, I'm gonna let Juan take it away. Take it away, Juan.
Thank you,
Dr.
Teresa.
Juan.
Thank
Came
you.
right from the front lines.
We all love your energy. We all love your energy. Thank you for getting us all here together on the route, all aligned. So without further ado, we're gonna dive into this chapter. What is that? Was that chapter 17, right? Chapter 17. Was that fun? Oh, wow. You see how we're putting all this stuff together, all those concepts that we dwell on over the past few months. Now they're becoming, applied. I love the way that works. So what is that? That's the chapter. Nice. What page is that on that big heavy book?
In the big book, it's on 609.
That's why I was keeping it here. Beautiful. So chapter 17, the dreams of the gods. And we're going to start diving into mirrors. And what is that? And how can we use the power of mirrors to create reality, right? So I know we had a volunteer the two sides to reality. Who volunteered that one? The two sides of reality. Ah, awesome. Great start, Carrie. So what we're gonna do is there's about four themes, 4 chapters to this big chapter. It's about the two sides of reality. There's the waking dream, then there is the children of God, and then the dream theater. So I figured we have about 15-20 minutes per each section. Will be awesome. Have fun. Do your
I don't
best.
know that I prepared 15 to 20 minutes worth of notes, but I'll see how I go.
Yeah, whatever it is. I'm just saying, I just want to make sure we didn't go more than 15-20 minutes. So
Okay,
in
well,
everybody, so in
feel free
that
to
way,
stop me.
everybody else has the chance to play as well. But if it's shorter and it's juicier, even better. So we can even discuss it more. So there's no wrong.
I made notes and I summarized. And if I skip past a bit that's your favorite bit, then shout out, okay? Because I'm going to be reading as well, so I might not see a hand. And if I start talking about something and you're like, oh my God, I loved that, and you're going too fast, just stop me and talk about it more, okay? Okay, so the section of the book explores the two sides of reality, and it talks about the world having a dual nature. The material level that's explained by science, and then the subtle planes that we encounter phenomena that can't be explained by scientific law. And then it goes on to talk about how the world plays hide and seek. So you can't really see what the true nature of the other side is, because whenever you try to look at it or search for it, it creates the reality that you're looking for. So it will, if you've got your hypothesis and you go deciding that, well, it's going to be consciousness or it's going to be matter, it will reflect back to you exactly what it is that you're looking for, which makes it even all the more difficult to kind of grasp and understand what that ethereal side is. So it cunningly changes masks, turning towards the side that we want to see, which is kind of that material mirror reflecting back at us whatever we think. And then Vadim comments that all of the different teachings that everybody has that all disagree and we all fight about, he says they're all right, because everything is correct in that alternative space. It's all there, and we find what we're looking for. So while we're busy arguing with each other about how I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, we're actually all seeing the same thing in a different way. And what's on the other side of the mirror is the alternative space where all things are possible, and that's pretty exciting. So the other idea he explored that I particularly liked was how our memories and our brains don't work, but that everything is all recorded in the alternative space. So not only is every possibility stored in the alternative space, but every memory is stored in there too. So everything, future, past, everything is within this huge matrix of alternative space. And he mentioned somewhere, I don't think I made a note of this, about how it's a structure, it's a fixed structure that contains all of this, which I kind of thought was a weird concept that's a little too metaphysical for me. Then when we get to dreaming, he talks about our souls going to the alternative space. And what I really like about this is I know sometimes I wake up in the morning and I know I've been with someone. Sometimes I've been with my dad, sometimes who's not alive anymore. Sometimes I've been with somebody who's been important to me, who I haven't seen for a long time. Sometimes it's just someone I know, but I wake up and I have a knowing that I've just spent time with that person. And if our souls do visit the alternative space while we're dreaming, it would make sense that my soul could be chatting with someone else's soul who could be chatting with someone else's soul, and we're all just hanging out there while I'm asleep, which is just so cool. I love that. And then he goes on to say that the mind cannot create anything new, and that all of the scientific discoveries and masterpieces are received by the mind from the alternative space. And how often do you hear of somebody who's written, I don't know, an amazing piece, a symphony or a novel, and they've referred to it being downloaded. They haven't said, I created this and I'm brilliant. It's always like, it's almost like the poem or whatever is just, it's just downloaded into them, and they create this amazing thing that was fed to them. I guess they understood transurfing from whatever modality made sense from them. And then Einstein also said that no scientific discovery comes from our logical mind. Now, then there was a really interesting discussion about the kids educated at International Academy of Human Development. I didn't look that up. Did anybody look that up or know anything more about that? Wow, Yolanda, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, of course, I looked it up. But
You rock.
yeah, that wasn't exactly the way that Vadim described it in the book. And actually, I've seen an interview. There was this guy who was interviewed, that the scientist, and I think that the interviewer was kind of like respectful, and but at the same time, he had questions and he was trying. And this that started with the B, right? With that particular scientist, he not only he was like very defensive, but you know he was really kind of like insulting him. So yeah, that whole interview was was not in the favor of the person that Vadim was talking about. And then whatever else I could find, yes, so that some other pieces, yeah, they were much less favorite than what Vadim was talking about. So I'm sure something was going on, because obviously, especially children's mind are much more teachable. So I'm sure that they were able to do something, but at least I didn't find any evidence that that was to the extent that Vadim was talking about. But I encourage you to do your own research, because I really didn't have that much time, but I did kind of look it up. So.
And that speaks to the point that he makes about how science is a pendulum in itself, and it's going to try to disprove anything that it doesn't believe. Maybe. So everything that's usually associated with magic has a direct relationship to outer intention. And once again, in this section, there was yet another definition of inner and outer intention that I'll get to in a minute. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't seem to read enough definitions of that. And I think I'm starting to get it. And here we get to the activity part of this section. People are capable of shaping their own reality, but you have to observe certain rules. You need to know how to work with that dual mirror. And the soul relates to the alternative space, and the mind to the material world. Inner intention relates to the material reality, and the outer intention to the virtual sector of the alternative space. And it all makes so much sense when you read it and summarize it here. And then I don't know why I always forget that. But the human beings who can combine in ourselves the material and spiritual simultaneously live on the surface of the mirror. Now, it said the surface of the mirror. I kind of felt like it should be the edge of the mirror, not the surface, because the surface you'd be on one side or the other. But if you're on the edge, then you would really be in both of those spaces. But I don't know. So if you learn to work with the dual mirror, you can accomplish things that previously seemed impossible. And he rounded out this section by saying your potential is limited only by your intention. Did anybody else get any other things? Thank you, Shantae.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Love your enthusiasm. I love your clarity. I love the way you deliver it.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah, well done.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, you guys are sweet.
So anything else to add to spice our understanding on that section? Shantae sounds like she's ready to go for it.
Yay.
No, I just I don't know. I thought you did a really great job. It's been a while. Like I read it like right after the last class, so I'm still trying to remember what I read. So that was a really great recap. And I do remember because I'm doing the next section, and part of the next section, he also mentions again how the mind and the body is of the material world, and the soul is of the alternative spaces, that you cannot, separate the soul from the alternative spaces. So I just, that kept sticking in my head.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that was amazing. I love it. I love your clarity. And again, the beautiful thing about listening to somebody else speak is that you get it from it has a different twist. I think that's fantastic. So thank you. Thank you for your enthusiasm and for your willingness to share. That was great. What little things? You did talk about the little things to add to outer intention. Yes, the mind deals with the physical. Yes, the soul deals with the space of variations, right? Now, we talk about inner and outer intention. Inner intention relates to working hard to achieve something. So like literally in the material world, straight line. If I need to go to point A to point B, that means I need to walk or do something to get there. That's how we work, right? Is the mule. I need to make money, so then I have to work lots of hours to do what it takes, for example, right? If I need to want to get this person as a partner, that means I have to do all these different things to achieve it, right? To conquer. That's internal intention. The actual work on hands-on work. Outer intention is a magical thing that we're talking. Is somehow we know that what we have the intention to have, listen to that, not what we want, not what we desire, not what we wish, right? We talked about this before. It's not about wishing, wanting, desiring. It's whatever we have the intention to have. We know that whatever, just by the fact that it came to our awareness, is somewhere in that space of variations. And what needs to happen is that we fulfill some of the rules that we've been diving on, some of the conditions, as we become aware of this. Well, as we fulfill those rules, some place where that option already exists in the space of variation needs just to be kind of activated. So it materializes and kind of magically appears in front of us. So that's the difference. That's outer intention. When whatever it is that we want, we have the intention to have, right? That's the correct way to put it. Okay, somehow materializes, boom, in front of us. So the interesting things on outer intention is that, is it true that it just materialized? Well, no, there are a few things. First, we want to know what we want. What is it that we have the intention to have? When we have that intention, we've dealt on this many times, it's just that knowing that is ours, just because we have that ability, right? And that knowing that is somewhere there. If we just thought about it, it's because it's there, it's possible in some place. Okay. Now, we must understand that yes, the mind needs to be aligned with the soul together. When the two of them are aligned and speaking the same language, is when that materializes, which is what you were referring to in the mirror, right? So in one space is, let's say this is the reality. Well, that's not what I want. That's not what the intention to have. In the other place, yes, somewhere here. But when the mind and the soul are aligned in the same place, right, as you were saying, it's just there, that edge, that's when it appears, it materializes somehow magically. But it's that reminding that they need to be aligned, mind and soul. So, and what that involves, what limits us, as you were saying, is our own. We are the one that limits all this process, because in our mind, we're so used to say, well, I never had all that money. How could I think about billions? I can hardly handle a few thousands, right? How could I think about having this person as a partner? Never, nobody has paid attention to me. How could I dream about learning all these things if I can hardly remember 10 things at a time? So we limit ourselves tremendously. And those are some of the reminders. We have an incredible ability. The possibilities are infinite if we keep reminding ourselves more and more about this. Yeah. And I love that the fact that everybody's explanation is right. Every science is right. Every way of healing is right. Every way of believing is right. It's your perspective, it's your understanding, it's your conditioning, it's your, and the art of being awake is just to recognize that. Right? And then don't get into, all these heated discussions on how right you are versus they're not. Saves you a lot of energy when you recognize, when we could listen to somebody say, wow, thank you. You really recognize or understand or respect at least what's the way somebody else sees, understands the world. That's very, very powerful. So I think understanding that power to see where somebody's coming from and how to explain it and see it is very, very, very powerful. So that's, I think, one of the most important concepts in this chapter as well. So anyway, that was beautiful. So let's move on. Anything else on that section? Yes, Shante.
Just listening to you reminded me of what we read before, that, I have the right to choose and so does everyone else. And also the whole idea that I don't have to justify or explain my choices. I don't have to get into that debate. And that is very freeing for me, is to not feel like I have to explain and express and justify myself to anyone.
Powerful, powerful, powerful distinctions and awarenesses to live by. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Oof, that's a good one. Yeah, remember, pendulums wants us to do as they do. Buy this, do this, live here, do it this way. Anything you can think of a pendulum that wants us to just follow. So what you just mentioned, no, it's okay. I'll do it my way. And it's perfectly right. Not necessarily in a rebellious way. Remember, rebellious by itself brings another charge. It's going to be different. That by itself, you're loaded with importance and loaded with all the crap that doesn't help. And that's a reminder on these distinctions. It's just that having that knowing and that awareness, and we're going to dive into it, into all these God concepts on us. So it's beautiful. So thank you again, Carrie. That was awesome. Okay, so it sounds like you are next, Shante, right?
Yeah, I am.
Please
and
take
I'm talking
a
about
waking dream.
Waking dream. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of things that stood out for me, and I love to hear what stood out for everyone else in this chapter, in this section. So again, I said it already, but the whole idea that the body mind relate to the material world while the soul remains inseparably connected to the alternative spaces. And I love that distinction, that it's just not connected, it's inseparably. Like there's no way to separate the soul from the alternative spaces. It just is. And that goes into the fact that we all come from the alternative spaces and that we all go back to the alternative spaces. And that really connected with me. And I think it's because many years ago, I stopped believing in this idea of some people go to heaven and some people go to hell. That never sat right with me, even as a child. And so when I started hearing other people say that, it was just really wonderful confirmation for me. But then I also have had a lot of arguments with some Christian friends who really strongly believe in hell. And so reading this, it's just like, oh, all right, you know what? More confirmation for me that I can live in the world, my world, where I choose to believe and agree with the idea that we all come from this amazing expansive space and we all return to this amazing expansive space. And then he goes into talking about masks and costumes, and it made me think of Shakespeare when Shakespeare says all the world is a stage. And so I, started seeing this whole vision of, life is a stage, and we come in this costume, and then we make an exit, and then we come back in another costume, and we may or may not remember the last life, but some people do, and children especially are still connected to the alternative spaces, and so they maybe it's easier for them to remember the last costumes that they've worn, whereas as we get older and older, it seems that tends to dissipate where we don't have that connection. Not everybody, but I think that's what he was saying. And I really love the idea of changing costumes and coming back and having different experiences as actors in life, especially since I am an actor. So again, he talks about incarnation and past lives. And I found this also interesting for me because I started having reoccurring dreams as a child, and I didn't really understand them, but they just were reoccurring. And then as an adult, I went to someone who was doing past life regressions. And right after I had those regressions, the dreams just stopped. And every single one of the places that I was regressed to correlated to one of those dreams. And I thought that was really fascinating. So I like the idea that if we can awake from the dream, that we can connect to all of that's still there for us. So let's see. He talks about awareness and perception. Awareness can be divided into two levels. The first is attention, and the second is perception. And so as a child, there's a great access to information from the alternative spaces. And so the world just is as it is. And that's it. There's no bunch of labels that are coming from outside. It just is. And it says once the attention span is captured, the child's perspective is sharply narrowed. Awareness is lost, and the individual sinks into a condition differing little from unconscious dreaming. And so at a certain point, I guess it sounds like we all become somewhat the Walking Dead, disconnected from our truth, our true knowing, and just kind of going along with, I guess, being carried away with the pendulums, I would imagine. Anybody want to chime in here? No? All right, I'll keep going. He also talks about how children know that they're playing a game, and it's just a game. They're not caught up in all of the seriousness of the game. And I think that's why we see, like, even if children usually are having a disagreement on the playground, 2 seconds later they're hugging and kissing and playing again, because they're not holding on to this game being so serious. Whereas I guess as adults, we imbue everything with so much importance. And so, for children, it's just a game. Let's see. Let's see. He says here that if you could remember who you really are, you would become conscious of the fact that you are capable of directing this dream, the dream that is life. And so, again, just being able to wake up in the dream. I love that. I forget what the phrase was for a couple of chapters before this, where you stop and you recognize that you are awake in a dream. You know, there was that exercise of looking at your hand, and just really taking that time to stop. I know for me, it can be easy to get caught back up into the, you know, not being aware and just going along. But I love that I can make the choice to wake up at any moment. And I can make that choice over and over and over again. And oh, I love this. This is the last thing I'm going to say. It's the end of the section where he talks about, was it bees? What was it? I'm just going to say bees because I don't remember, but some kind of insect who's enjoying nectar in Africa and who has no awareness that there are plants with nectar in America. And it's just this whole idea of, you know, why don't you just, you know, you can just enjoy the nectar right where you are. You don't have to worry about, you know, all those other places where they could be nectar, you know, but just be where we are, you know, be present right here, right now, and enjoy it. And I think it's the idea of not having to try to comprehend everything. I was having a conversation with someone and about infinity, and he literally asked me, well, everything has a beginning and an end. And I said, well, if it's infinite, does it? Where does it begin and where does it end? I wouldn't know. And I think a lot of times, I think in my world, maybe from schooling, there's this idea of I have to figure out the answers to everything. I have to know and break down everything to the little teeny, you know, pieces, instead of just saying, hey, this is life. And isn't it an amazing journey? Like, I don't have to pick apart the meaning of life. I can actually just simply enjoy it. And so that's what I got out of it.
That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful job, Shantae.
Ah,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Review.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is a beautiful dream. And the question is, are we awake enough? And what I remember also from reading the chapter and what we keep, you know, going through as we go through reality transurfing is, yes, there is this soul, as you beautifully said it, the soul is linked to the space of variation, right? But when we come here with our costumes, you know, it looks like this mind, the costume, take over, and he doesn't listen. You remember we've talked about this in previous chapters. The noise that my thoughts make, my conditionings, my beliefs, my fears, my everything makes is so loud. I don't listen to the rustling of the morning stars. Remember we talked about this before, the rustling of the what is that rustling of the morning stars? It's that soul that is there saying, hello, you know, you have it all. You know, are you worrying about all that stuff? Or as you mentioned too, it is a game. It is a game. Where are you putting so much importance that you're trapped into your own, you know, labyrinth of complications, convoluted, you know, situations? Drop importance and see the infinity of it all, right? So it's just so beautiful depicted. And this goes to link both chapters and both sections and the mirror. Most of us, and this is also internal intention, when we're trying to change reality, somehow we're forcing things. We want to change something. Like, I don't like this house, so let me tear this down and build a new one, right? Instead of remembering that, instead of just focusing on what is there already, what if we just work on our thoughts, right? It says, remember, Don't focus so much on changing the reflection of, but the actual image. And the image is our thoughts, images, beliefs about things. So what if when we're facing, so this is like another practical application of this. What if when we're facing a challenge, something that looks very, very difficult in any of the areas of our life, you know, what if somehow we could say, wow, this is what appears to be my reality. But if this is true, if this is what I'm seeing, this is the reflection that I'm seeing, the challenging moment, reality, or reality, it's reality. Don't let's change it. What if to change that, what if I could reframe, rephrase, look at my thoughts, beliefs, ideas about this, okay? Because as we work on that, then we're gonna see a different reflection, where the reality is gonna change. So I think that's crucial. Why? Because when we're not aware of the power that involves, the recognizing those thoughts, feelings that led to this manifestation, to materializing this sector, okay, then we are asleep. We are suffering the consequences. We feel like we have no control over what's happening. And reality transurfing is about choosing what we want, or what we have the intention to have, what we want. It's knowing that we can change reality. We can transurf through it in our own world, right? Which is beautiful. So that's what it says. Wake up. To retain our level of awareness, I love this one, it's essential to keep consistent control of the flow of our thoughts. So just be mindful. It's a reminder to be mindful of what we're thinking, the flow of it. What am I filling my head with? I remember loving that. I was just listening to him. The person that first got me into all these things, he was always talking about the power of words. You said, be mindful of what you're speaking. The words you're using are powerful. Be mindful. Don't use bad words about yourself. Never say anything bad about yourself. From yourself, you only speak beautiful things. From others, when something bad is there, don't even say it. Be mindful of how you're feeding yourself, what you're listening, what you're speaking, the way you're speaking. Always on a creative way, always in an expansion way, always, in greatness, in good, in whatever else you want to call it, that is positive. So to retain our level of awareness, it is essential to keep consistent control of the flow of our thoughts. Reduce importance, go with the alternative flows. Remember, it's not always this way. The way it's going to manifest, leave it open. There's many, we know there's so many ways to get there, right? Is it possible to become millionaires? Yes, could be as simple as buying the right lotto. Somebody hands you a little piece of lotto ticket and bam, there it is, the winner. Could it be as simple as that? You've heard about all kinds of other crazy ways, amazing, beautiful, magical ways. Don't just say just words. There I am using crazy ways. Magical, beautiful ways of manifesting. Hasn't the right person in our life just popped sometimes in the most incredible places? Haven't we heard just what we needed to hear at some moment? When we find cures, solutions to problems in the most random ways? That's what's sticking or being open to the space of variation, to the alternative flows, I should say. And then always use coordination. Remember the principle of coordination? Indulging on our goal, on the awareness of our goal as if already being achieved. Whatever it is that you want, it's already done. You know it, it's done, And that's it. Then you drop importance and you leave us and you move in the direction of it. So that's how we can control that reality. Wake up, be aware of the train of thoughts, check on importance, stick to the alternative flow and coordination. What is this? Last part. The soul of every living being is a part of God. Every life is a dream, which, as you mentioned, every life is a dream. Any other shares on this section? Anybody else had any other exciting shares? It was beautiful, by the way. Again, I'm loving this format. Isn't it great? Isn't it also that, didn't it also push you to pay even more attention to what you were reading, to then being able to express it and share it? And these are things that now they're really going to stay there, which is fantastic. That's what I love doing this. Every time that I read it, something else, I make another distinction, you know. But now that you said it, now it's my, I'm like, oh, I didn't see it that way, that perspective. So it's amazing. Beautiful. Thank you.
That's your Shakespeare reference too. That was so cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I will remember that.
Great job, Shantae and Carrie.
Now, I know somebody gave up, but do we have somebody prepare for the children of God? I think that's where we had one drop.
Might have
Right?
been Michelle's section.
That was Michelle, yeah. This one was a tough one for people, you know, especially if you're really, really strong about religion, right? If you're into religion and you're reading this first time after you've never attended reality transurfing, and here, read about the children of God. You know, religion is a pendulum. Oh, no, I cannot talk about this. How could I? You know, but that's the beauty of it, right? This is a beautiful thing. And that's the beauty of this chapter. So this, again, my notes on this one to share is he talks about ego, right? And how our self, what we like to do in ego, is to always assert our own significance, right? It's all about importance. It's about I want to make sure that I'm doing well, that I'm important, that people reflect that on me. You know, we're always talking about, you know, that's what the ego wants as such, right? And again, some people just let it go and leave like that. It's all about egoist, as they call it, right? It's all about letting importance reign, you know, versus the other ones that somehow don't allow it to happen. Actually, the ones that allow it to suffocate it become altruist, right? It's everything is righteousness, everything is, you know, we do everything because it's perfect, but it's all the same thing. It's all ways to make us feel even bigger and more important. I do this because it's the right thing to do it. You know, I'm holding the truth, you know. So it's interesting, that concept of ego. Who has any other thoughts about this ego thing of being significance and importance? Any experiences with this? So it either is all about getting ourselves or big. The other option is negating ourselves. Oh no, I'm not so important. Others are. You know, and then you start doing stuff for others without paying attention to yourself. You negate yourself. You know, you must love others instead of self, or others just become extremely aggressive. You know, and this is where it starts the interesting, when you start mixing this with the search for God. You know, what is this God? Is God inside us, or is that God everywhere? And of course, the idea here is we're all the sparkle of God, right? We're all a part of it. And again, that's I believe on that, you know, and you know, and we all are free to believe it in any other ways. That somewhere in heaven, somewhere else where is good and checking on us, or we're part of it. Okay. So returning to self without looking, we're talking about how to remember, we're reviewing this. If we are all coming from this space of variations, right? If we're all that amazingness, which we will call God, okay, the whole thing, okay, trying to look for it somewhere else instead of on ourselves, you know, it's just a distraction. So do not, he keeps insisting, do not listen to others who are trying to change you and to be or do something different than who you are. Feel into yourself, listen to yourself, you know, honor yourself, trust yourself. You know, actually, I like this quote: turn to face yourself accept yourself the way you are. Be yourself. Assert your right to be right. You know, to serve, to dedicate yourself to serving an abstract God means to abandon yourself, abandon your soul. This is nothing more than adherence to the pendulum of religion. I like the concept of, you know, I like this, yeah. Religion is communication with God via a mediator. Somebody else is in here saying, we know God, come here, want to connect with God, connect through us. Whatever that's called, whatever religion you want to call it, doesn't really matter. And it also puts it like atheist, right? Atheist, right? Whatever it is we put in the way of just true connection with ourselves, direct connection with our beauty, with ourselves, is a distraction. It doesn't, we don't even need to, this is not about beating anything or anybody, you know that, right? You know, pendulums, this beautiful pendulum of religion is there for a reason. It serves a lot of people that have no awareness and believe in themselves. So they need to believe on something greater, you know, and pray to that for something. And we know that a lot of people benefit from it. So it's, I mean, I'm saying benefit in the good way. It's like a path, it's a direction, it's something good. So there's nothing about beating it per se. Every pendulum arises with its own intention. The challenge is when we're not aware of why we're doing it. In previous weeks, we talk about choose your pendulums from a place of awareness. The challenge is when somehow we lose ourselves and then we start to speak without being aware of who we are. When we suddenly lose our goal, our will to achieve something, our power to control our lives. And then we started following somebody else's way of doing it. That's probably the challenge, the best way I could conciliate this ideas of following a pendulum, whatever you call it. You know, it could be just medicine. My allopathic is the only way of curing somebody. It's the only way. And somebody tells me about herbs or energy, or no, that's no way. That's whatever. That by itself, yes, I start to shrink. I get I start to fight it. It's silly, right? Well, there's one way of looking at it too. We were saying before, if we're not awake, that's what we do. We contract in our own little way of looking at life. This is how it should be. You know, as a kid, Shantae just told us, we're awake, we see it all, it's beautiful, it's a game. As we get to serious, then this is the path. This is what I should do. I should follow whatever. And in this case, we're talking about religion. So it's do it this way, pray this way, and all this stuff. And it's just that moment where we lose ourselves and somehow we start following the script of whatever it is that we're talking about. I love this. Man, the whole, was given the power to create the ledger of his or her world. We were given the power to create the ledger of our world by streaming potential alternatives from metaphysical space into the physical world, right? So we have the power to just do whatever we want with our space, with our world. We have that power, we have that ability, okay? But pendulums block that ability. They somehow convince us that we can't. And this is powerful. In what area of our life I don't think I can change my circumstances? Is it at a health level, at a relationship level, at a financial level, at a professional level, at any level? Where am I thinking that I'm limited to this way of doing it? We all have the power to design, create our layer of the world. And what I love, and it's said somewhere here, is that there is a limit. There appears to be a limit, but it's not a God somewhere up there. It's not Zeus with his, powerful, what is that called? Spike, whatever. It's not that. is the whole. Yes, I have the power to control my layer of my world, but I'm in the middle of many other layers of the world that are all together, intertwined, living, crossing through us. That's the God, the way he describes it. And I hope that makes sense. The God is the sum of all the layers of the world. Mind, your soul. Like right now, we're all together in this moment, kind of sharing some ideas, right? As if they're all like fine and they flow and it kind of makes sense, they're all in alignment, it all appears good. But there might be a moment where I overstep in some way and I start saying something that starts hurting some or some other. That starts creating some disturbance in the area, you know, in this sector, in this section, you know, that leads to something. Well, that's what he describes as the God that is the controller of the whole thing. And I like that concept more than just the Zeus or the whatever you want to call it there. Don't do that, you know, and then you get punished. Or it's written in some book, in some place that this is the way to do it. The only way is like this. And if you don't do it in that way, bad, right? No. We all have the power to control our layer of the world, to design it, to make the whatever we want with it. Good, bad, big, limited, small, you know, we choose. But just somehow, in the beautiful understanding of that power, remember that you're next to many other people. You're in the midst of other areas and spaces that have that power as well in their own world. And at some point, they cross, they intersect somehow in some way. And I think that's a beautiful concept to have in the back of our mind. Okay? I think that's very, very, very powerful on how that works. Worship versus co-creation. That was another powerful concept. Creating together with. And I think that's what we all together. That's the concept of arising together, right? We're all learning from each other, you know. Sometimes it's not even the concept, sometimes it's the energy that gets transmitted, as you know. You're like, whoa, I don't know what was said, but the way I feel is I know I can do something, right? And I know we can move together in some place, even if it's not here holding hands, but we're holding souls. Our souls are together right now in joy. I feel the connection. I feel your energy as you speak and as you nod your head and you move. We're all growing and moving, and wherever we are, the spaces in there are moving along. And that's the beauty of co-creation. Every time that we wake up a little bit more, like, yeah, that is co-creation versus just worshiping something, you know, or this is the way to do it, you know, do it this way. And whatever it is, it could be business, it could be whatever. I just want to make sure it's not just understood as just religion. This is not about that. It's just the moment we forget, you know, this potential for things. You communicate with God by shaping the layer of your world. I love that. You communicate with God by shaping the layer of your world, your reality. When you take joy in your creation, God takes joy with you. And he finishes actually with that quote, according to your faith, be it unto you. And when you see it from that perspective, it's so beautiful, you know. And we started with in the first section, we talk about it, right? We're limited only by our intention, our beliefs. Oh, no, I can't do that. Well, according to your faith, in that sense, in this sense, you know, this faith that you can change your layer of the world, you know, that's how it works. Any more thoughts about this? The children of God. I think it's a beautiful chapter in that sense. Yes, Shante, please.
A couple of things about religion. I really believe that there's so much beauty in religions. I just reading this and hearing you, I'm really clear that it goes back to trying to make people choose what you're choosing and not just letting people choose what they choose, you know, and making people wrong for not choosing what you're choosing. And I think that's when I was very young, hearing, my Muslim family say that my Christian family were going to hell, or that my Christian family would say my Muslim family was going to hell, or my Jewish friends would say everybody's going to hell except for us. It just never made sense to me. What if you were born into religion, you never chose it? Then what do you do? So all of these questions they've always been a part of, lived with me. And so realizing that I have a right to choose, and everybody else has a right to choose. And it is my ego that would lead me to want to justify my choosing. Like I don't have to look for other people's agreement for the way I choose to relate to God. So that was one of the things that came up. And I love this. It is highly unlikely that God requires us to worship him. Do you require your children to worship you, or would you rather they become good friends? I love that. Like being friends with God, that co-creator with God. I love to say that if we were made in the image and likeness of God, and God is creator, then my job is to create. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be a creator. And so I just love so much about this chapter, especially being raised Christian, and later on going to become an interfaith minister, just because I wanted to see the connection between religions, and not the things that most people would look at that would say, this is what makes us different from you. But there's so much about all the religions that is pretty much the same. And so I really love this chapter. So thank you.
Thank you. It was beautiful. Yeah. You just pointed out, it says, one of the many other quotes is, returning to self without looking around for others. Returning to self without looking around for others is the true path to God. Without looking for others is the true path to God. Yeah. Any other shares on this one? This is powerful. Religion. Any other pendulum? Anything that blocks our perception, right? Open perception, our child perception of beauty of it. Awesome. Good. Now, without further ado, the Dream Theater. And we have, I know for this one, we know we have Yolanda. Woo-hoo.
I don't know if I'll be able to speak freely if my husband comes downstairs and I say something that might not end up well. So we'll see. So be prepared for anything. The last part of this chapter, again, Vadim is delivering and explaining to us maybe couple more attributes of God. So especially like Shante, I grew up in very religious environment and in faith. So I kind of enjoyed that chapter, and the fact that Vadim is acknowledging that God exists. Because quite frankly, like reading from the previous chapters, I really couldn't figure him out entirely. He would say here and there, God, yes, you need this and that. But then the flavor of the book until now would be more, look, you just have to, well, not that have to, but you use this tool, that tool, and this tool, and you see what's gonna happen. Whatever you want, you're gonna get as long as you do. And now in chapter 17, it seems to me like Vadim says, well, not so fast, slut puppies. You better hold your horses because there is God, right? And God is in the equation, and that changes things a bit. So I think, okay, let me quote. He said, God is a leader in creating and shaping a reality, right? So Vadim says that God exists. So I think, first of all, so where does it put us? I see that as a fundamental difference between religion and well, let's say spirituality, just so we know where we are, right? Because, you know, in religion, I grew up Catholic, you know, and the profession of the Catholic faith is, I believe in God, right? If you look at the catechism of the Catholic Church, that's how it starts. It's the profession of faith. We believe in God. But what does Vadim say? Vadim says God exists. So what is the difference? Every time I say I believe in something, I'm adding the element of a doubt, right? If you ask me, is it going to be a beautiful day tomorrow? And me, let's say, knowing looking at the Weather Channel, I will say, I believe so. But can I say, I know so? No. So every time when we say, I believe, sometimes maybe we don't realize, but subconsciously, we introduce the element of unbelief. There is even, I can remember maybe Shantae, you know, the saint who said, God, I believe, help me my unbelief. Okay. But I think, you know, if we know that God is the creator, right? So, and we look around and we see that there is a creation, that all I can say is, I know God exists because I see it. So it's not the matter of belief anymore for me. I know it. So I don't have to say I believe in God because I know there is God. So I kind of like that the knowledge that I know that God knows, and I do know, so I don't have to believe. So, you know, we're having a little bit conversation with my beautiful, devoutly Catholic husband, but, you know, I think it's just a word, right? So, so that is the fundamental difference between knowing God and believing in God. So I think Vadim got that right. And like Shantae say, yes, since, you know, okay, so maybe the next question would be, okay, now we know there is God. So, which is kind of like a fundamental question, which also Vadim answers very, very, very well. Why are we here, right? And I think he says, to create our reality, right? Because if the axiom number one, let's say the main attribute of God is that God is the creator, so yeah, we are here to create, right? Yeah, I think that's what the Vadim says, that the creation is the true essence of God that he shares with us. And also Vadim says that we control reality with God. So then I was thinking about it a little bit, and let's see what I wrote here. It could be, it's true, but there are conditions to it. So I came up with actually the 3 conditions, which involve God's will, obviously, and our will, right? Because we were created as his children, so we have our own will, but he also has his will. So yes, we are able to control our reality but with his approval, so that's where God's will comes in, with his allowance, which is honoring God's honoring of our free will. So he allows us to create things. And the third one would be lack of his approval, which is also his will. And really, you know, we have to understand that in our creation as God's children, we really are limited by what Carrie was wondering about, the outer intentions, right? And to me, the outer intention, it's really the universal law. And we all know that it has to be a universal law, otherwise we would all fall totally in chaos. And let me give you like a quick example that we really cannot create everything we want. Let's say Juan and myself, we want to take advantage of our CEO retiring, and we both decide that we want to run to be the CEO of the hospital. We both transurfers. We gotta activate our plates and drop our importance and do every trick in the book. You know, we'll go neck and neck. But at the end, only one of us can be that CEO, right? And to me, I think this is the power of the outer intention, which is correlated with some kind of universal law. So that would be, you know, a little bit of the clarification. And yes, our some limitations to our creativity. And then what I also liked about this chapter, he was talking about evolution and creation. So obviously Vadim, he's a quantum physicist. So he realizes and he knows that Darwin was only partially correct. So he presents the theory, which is called creative evolution, which kind of embraces the creation and the evolution. And that's kind of accepted theory by a lot of quantum physicists, maybe, but not all of them. So, and it's good to know because I think Vadim explains where we are coming in that whole creative evolution, right? So in evolution, we have so-called two tempos, right? There's a quick tempo and a fast tempo, right? So, sorry, slow tempo and the quick tempo. Thank you for correcting me, not correcting me, Juan, right? So in evolution, we have the slow tempo of the evolution and so-called the quick tempo. So the theory of Darwin, which we are all well aware of, you know, Darwin said, you know, that evolution is the result of random genetic mutations, right? And the survival of the fittest, which, you know, introduces the environment as a tool for evolution. But the problem with it is, which Vadim highlights it, is that if we say that evolution is based on random mutations, then you know, random mutations go either way, you know, forward or backward. But when we actually look at evolution, you know, we see that there's so-called arrow of time, that we start from the very primitive life forms, and then, you know, we're making more and more representations in the physical. So the whole creation becomes more and more complex. So that's what the arrow of time is. And that's what Darwinian theory is not able to support, because they say it's all random, right? So then obviously there are some obvious things like an eye that you cannot, you can never explain the evolution of the eye, because you can have just a little bit of the eye. You either have the whole eye or you have no eye. So, so that comes, so that would be the Darwinian theory kind of explain that long evolution, which is really just the adaptation of the species. But that does not explain us jumping from one species to the other. First of all, there's no fossils that would show that they are any intermediate species, right? So there's that famous fossil gap. And then again, you know, we creating the new species are being created and the other ones are still being retained, right? So that jumping from one species to the other cannot be, this is so-called a quick, you know, quick creation. And this process, it's only possible by intervention of God. When the scientists are talking about it, the ones that are talking about the primacy of consciousness, right? And which in metaphysics, we would say the primacy of God. So then we say there is a in order to create a new species, it has to be creation. So it cannot be evolution. So Vadim is talking about it, and which makes me very, very happy. And that also, it does show that yes, we are children of God, but we can transurf still ad mortem defecatam, and we cannot jump one species from the other, right? So our role as a creator is that type of the slow evolution, and the way we create is that, and I believe this is our purpose, and that's what God really wanted us to do, is to become the best version of ourselves, right? So in every situation, let's say we live in different environments and this and that, right? So we cannot compare everything, but we try to use our creativity to be the best of ourselves in the situation. And that's what kind of drives the evolution, right? Because something is being discovered, and then so everything is going into a more and more information that's being taken from the alternative space and materialized in this world. So we obviously have a huge part, and very happy about that. And let's see, what else did I wanted to say? Well, so then obviously then, which is the title of the chapter. So he says that the world is the theater of our dream, and in that theater of dream, God is an audience, an actor, and writer, and the director, right? So he is an actor, right? Because he's, his essence is part of us, right? He's the observer, and, that could be seen in both ways. Since I can observe myself, right? We have that ability for the subject-object splits, right? So I can observe as a, God in me, and God as a consciousness all around. And then it does say that God is a writer and a director. So again, this is a, you know, I do see it as a primacy of God. So yes, so there is that universal law that is, that God created, right? Because on the beginning, when there was nothing, everything was in potential, everything was a possibility. So in order for God to start any type of the creation, he kind of had to involve and created the laws, right? The universal laws, the laws of physics, the moral laws, right? So that was already, right? So that was like a first part of the creation, that all of the sudden, out of all the potentiality, right? We have the certain laws, so that those laws could you know, to support the farthest stages of God's creation. And let's see what else. And I don't know if I may, you know, I just would like to give you very quick, because that's kind of helpful, maybe the very quick anatomy of the human anatomy, which is, you know, we call it the quantum anatomy, which involves not only our physical body, but our bodies that are on the other side of the mirror. So, I mean, it's not in the book, so it's up to you, Juan, if you
can do that in 3 minutes, it's fine.
Yeah, okay, so I'll do it in the 3 minutes, right? So we have that energetical body, right? And we have our physical body, which is the representation of our energetical bodies. So do it real quickly. We actually have 5 bodies, right? So there's only one body, which is physical, and it's in this reality. But the other 4 bodies are already in, you know, they're not of this time of space, but they are correlated to our physical body. And the idea, why is it helping you? Because with each body, we have a different way of knowing the reality, right? We use, for the physical body, we can only know the reality with our senses, right? Sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. So that's how we can see the reality with our physical body. So the next one, we would have so-called the vital body, which is a blueprint for our physical body, right? If you want to build the house, you first to have a blueprint, right? So the vital body is like the blueprint, and that's where all that vital energy is, what Vadim is talking, the energy flowing. And that's where the chi energy is from the Chinese medicine, or prana energy from the Ayurveda. So this particular body, you know, we are able to know our reality by feelings. Okay, so our feelings, which are a movement of our vital energy, allowing us to know the reality a little better. So our next body would be our mental body, right, which is our thoughts. And so we can know our reality by our thoughts. Let me speed up. So 2 more. So the next one, and that's very interesting. I think we have what's so-called supramental body. And the supramental body is the body where our soul actually is. So this is kind of important. And and the way we perceive the reality with the supramental body is through our intuition, okay? And the intuition, you know, we cannot intuit with our mental body or with our thoughts. We have to use our subconsciousness to do that. And that's where the soul is. And so that's how the soul gets its knowledge. And the soul gives this knowledge first to the heart, okay? And then the final body would be like a bliss body, which is for the people who already transcended, and there's no more division between a spiritual and the physical body. So I hope I did it in 3 minutes. And I think, like, to me, it's kind of helpful because it puts all these different things like in those categories and make things a little bit easier. And I can take questions if there are any.
Very good. Thank you for that in-depth review of this with many, many powerful quotes.
Awesome, Yolanda.
Yolanda, that was amazing.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions or shares or additions from this chapter, from this section?
Everyone did amazing reviews. I'm so impressed. Thank you all for your contributions.
This is, again, this is a great example to practice being fully present with somebody and listening to the way we deliver, you know, in our own beautiful ways from our own different perspectives. I think this is amazing. And honoring and listening attentively what's there for me, you know, what lands. That's fantastic. Whew. That was a powerful review. Carrie.
It's also nice for us to have a chance to contribute after you have been giving for so many months to us. So I appreciate that we have the opportunity to learn and take some of the weight from your shoulders and contribute, and we learn more deeply when we do it too.
That's the idea. This is I'm quoting again Satyan in this. He says, "We are masters at play." I think we just witnesses today. This is not me teaching. It's never been about me teaching. I'm just here learning with you as well. We're not any different. Somebody needs to lead it, yes, at some point, but it's all about learning. And I think there was a beautiful example of that. Each of us expressing, delivering the way we know, the way we understand it, adding our spice. It's just wonderful. And if you all agree, I will suggest we continue doing it like that. Did you like it? Did you enjoy doing that? You know? Good. Yeah, even the nervousness, that's the beautiful thing about it, because then you practice it. Because remember, my hope, my intention somehow is that eventually you lead this in your own world with other people. So other people recognize the power that they have to change, to adjust, to co-create the layer of the world. I tend to imagine we're all like drops of water that appear separate, but we're not. It's a moment where we'll jump, when all those drops of water get together, and where is the water? Where's the drop? What happened to the drop? Who's the God? Where's the God? Where's the rule of whatever? That's, to me, stays like that. At the end, after all this thing, like, I'm a drop of water, and I'm, surrender into the ocean of, as our essence. That's how I'll summarize this beautiful thing. Yet as we were aware of our divine essence, then we said, hey, yeah, I'm a drop of water, and I can change my layer of the world, whatever that is, and I'll leave that to you. But don't be limited just by the drop of water. This is amazing. You could be, at any given time, you'll be a cloud. And at any given time, you could just be big ocean. At any given time, you could be splashing in any beach, anywhere around the world you want. Or if you're feeling really bad that day, you could be just in the toilet being flushed. So
yeah,
I
love that. One of the things that he said was that, God is wanting to experience everything. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's just all just experience. I don't know why this stuck in my head, Jolanta, when you were saying the you know, you and Juan going up for the same position, you know, but what I got was no matter who gets it, you got it, because we're all God, which is very esoteric, I know, but it just kept coming up for me that way, right? Because God always gets what God is choosing, I think. Maybe.
And if you want to continue speculating about it, she might get that position, but I'll get the other CEO in a bigger institution, because it's just the way it works. If I drop importance because she got it, you know,
Right.
then
Yeah.
whatever happened next, I may be seeing her 3 months from that moment, you know, all miserable in that position, and I'll be enjoying my watery nature somewhere, raining in the world, drizzling, or whatever.
Or maybe she's ecstatic in that position and that's why it was hers, you know, either way, who
It
knows?
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and that's the exercise here.
Right.
That's the exercise here. Just stay open. Remember, the mirror will show whatever you think it is. You want to make it as simple or as complex, you know, as you want. You just get that. You just get that. Just enjoy it. Be yourself. Don't turn to anybody and say, was that right? Was it right? Was it wrong? No, it is. It is what you wanted in your layer of the world. Now, I did like this concept of the God being the totality, in a way, if I could use those words, of all our layers of the world. You know, I like that idea for me in my own little work, my own conception of world. You know, but I understood the glimpses of God through the different presentations, and I honor that. So, chapter 18 is called the mirror world. We're going to dive even deeper into the mirror world. We have volunteers for something like this. Again, the dual mirror. I think Julia is eager to jump this time. We want to hear Julia's beautiful world. Would you like to take it? Would you take it? Even if it's a shorty, I just want like 4 pages just for like that first, the dual mirror is 4 pages.
Thank you for asking. The thing is, I will probably have to either miss entirely or be very late to next session. But thank you for inviting me into that. I release that to everybody else with joy.
Good. Well, we could give you the last part in case you get here late. And if you can make it, I'll be ready to give a few words anyway. Remember, this is just an exercise for fun. Okay. It's just an exercise, some fun on delivery. And if in any way, I'm not saying you are, but if in any way you're nervous about anything, even better. Because then it's like, okay, well, I'll present and whatever. Want to try it? Daniela, do you want to take one part? The first section, dual mirror, 4 pages. I think last time you kind of said yes. Do I see a yes there?
You wrote, thank you, everyone. I must depart now.
I know. That's what I said. All right. Well, that's the shortest of all. If you want to take it, you'll be welcome. The next part is the reality amalgam. Amalgam. Sounds a word for me.
I'll take any. I don't mind which one. I just don't feel like being first again. But if I am, I don't care.
So the first one is only 4 pages. If Daniela wants to take it, great. If not, I'll take care of that one. Then the reality amalgam. Then you want to go for that? Oh, Shante. So Shante takes the reality amalgam. Then chasing your reflection. Carrie, you want to take it?
Sure.
Chasing your reflection. And then next, the world comes to you. Yolanta. You want to take the world comes to you? You like that one.
You like sure you want to hear it?
Of course. Of course.
The word comes to you. Is it short? So I have a lot of charts to do.
The world comes to you.
It's short, right?
It's, yeah.
I haven't planted my garden yet.
8 pages, maybe.
Yeah. And then the maker's intention is the last part, which, but that's kind of, no, it's not the last one. There's the maker's intention, and then the League of Mirror Makers is the short last part. Julie, you want to take the League of Mirror Makers? It's only 4 pages. It's the last 4.
I'm willing to take it as a stretch goal.
Okay.
I may not be able to do it, but I'll take
and that's fine. We'll drop importance if we don't see you, we will understand. Okay, we'll take it. So that will be the League of Mirror makers. You're a mirror maker. That's good. So I'll take the maker's intention and the first little part. Awesome. That should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was lovely. I love your shares, your presentations. It was fun, and I'm looking forward to more of them. And again, arising together.
And I don't know about you guys, but I wasn't nervous coming here because it's a safe space. There's no judgment. You just come, you just do, and people add help. But it wasn't the sort of thing that I had any kind of like unpleasantness about, because it's such a safe place. So thank you all for that.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. We
Excellent. Very good.
We all are awesome.
We are.
Beautiful.
Love you all. And we will see you in 2 weeks on May the 6th.
13th.
Oh, what?
Yeah, we're going to be the second Thursday.
Oh,
so-
yeah. Okay. So I just said that. We have 3 weeks.
Wow.
between,
3
so
weeks to prepare.
Prepare. There we go.
Even better. And remember, the other big thing that will say, forget about preparing. This is about a way of living. Practice these things. Remember, concepts for me that grabbed me this time is be aware of be aware of my train of thoughts. How am I thinking? What am I thinking? Am I awake? You know, how am I thinking? What am I thinking? What am I saying? The power of words, I mentioned it. So just practice these concepts as we go through them. Remember those little things. This is a practice. Otherwise, if it's just knowledge, it's going to disappear very quickly. But it's the practice of where could I practice this? Where am I complicating my life? Okay, how do I remember that I create my obstacles and my wins? So if I'm aware, then I go, I can just remake them, refabricate them, right? I have the power, unlimited power. I like that, unlimited, that beautiful, infinite kind of paradox, and I keep listening to, that's the other reminder. I keep listening. We didn't talk about it. Polarities, right? There's this thread through the whole chapter. We live in a world with polarities all the time. And maybe if we have time next week or next time when we meet, we might do a process on polarities. Little reminder on how to integrate polarities. Most of you know some of the axial revolution processes. So always whenever we talk about beginning and end, we talk about hell and heaven, we talk about good and bad, we talk about limited and unlimited, whatever you want to call it. Those are polarities that we work on. Then when we can use either at will at any given time, not be trapped by any of them, in which case we're limited again. Our mind takes over. Beautiful. See you in 3 weeks. Then. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This was awesome.
Bye.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Have a great 3 weeks. You'll be missed.
Bye, everyone. Love you.
Love you. Bye, Daniela.